how would you say that it is a spiritual practice through physical movement, and also how it's inclusive if one happens to be an atheist, for example?
It could be a spiritual practice, Rachel, because you can then bring in whatever you believe, dedicate your practice to the universe, to God, and bring in those rituals of the yoga practice, because there's 8 leaves to yoga.
Hello and welcome to the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival podcast. I am your host, Rach Cox, and I am thrilled to be interviewing some of the world's best known experts in spirituality and well-being. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. So Donna is a wellbeing coach, a speaker, educator, author, body positive, social justice and diversity and inclusion activist. You've got quite the array of talents there, mate. And you're the founder of Curve Some Yoga, which aims to show that everybody has a yoga body. Yes. Brilliant. So, how did this all come about, babes?
Well, it all came about back in the late 1990s when a friend of mine saw a picture of Madonna in one of the newspapers and said she was very much into what celebrity trends were, etc. Madonna was looking good. So she said, let's give yoga a go, because it was attributed to her yoga practice. So I said yes. And we were lucky enough, Rachel, to have a yoga teacher or a trainee yoga teacher who was a colleague who said that we could be a guinea pigs. And that's how I started my yoga journey. Didn't realize how transformational it was going to be. Did a few sessions with her. And then I decided I wanted to find a class where it was beginner level type thing. You know, I didn't want to go in there and couldn't get my leg behind my head or looks really silly type thing. And but gave up the yoga after a while because I became very busy with life. I was about to go off and study for my master's degree, and as you do, you think, well, I can give up yoga. I'm not realizing how transformational it's going to be in my life. And many years later, fortunately for me, it came back into my life, and that's when I think the transformation began to happen. I became ill with Bell's palsy, and yoga was instrumental in my healing process because it showed me that the illness was there and was dormant for some time, but yoga allowed me to slow down, began to allow me to connect with myself, withdraw, and see that the life I was living wasn't for me, that I was basically unhappy. And I was lucky enough, and I think we worked at the same company actually. I was then able to get redundancy. And at that point, I still didn't even view yoga as being a career path. But at that time, a friend of mine had also said, Donna, you need a plan B. And I thought, what do you mean plan B? I'm living the life as they tell us we do, Rach. You know, the house, the car, the job, the career. And then the one thing I liked at the time was yoga. And I was a person that studied a lot. So I thought, you know what, just in case when I retire, I want something to do, yoga would be it. So let me do this course. And anyone that knows me, Rachel, I would do things in the quickest time possible. But the fact that it took me 18 months because I could only afford one weekend per month to do it at Try Yoga shows you that it was really on the back burner. It wasn't something that I thought I'd be doing. But the universe or whatever, Rachel, redundancy came up. I still was going to go back into corporate because it still wasn't dawned on me that this could be a career path until the NLP trainer said, Donna, what's going on with you? And I said, I don't know what I want to do in my life. She said, of course you do. I said, no, I don't. She said, yes, you do. She said, Donna, when you talk about yoga, you light up. And when you talk about corporate, you don't. And in that instant, Rachel, I started my Bikram journey. I was loving Bikram. And then I said, you know what? Finish the Try Yoga training. And then go off to LA for 9 weeks and do your Bikram training, because it was the hot yoga, break the furniture. It was the hot yoga at the time, quite literally. So I went off to LA for what should have been a 9-week journey and stayed for 6 months in cocooned this yoga bubble, traveled to LA, then off to New York, and then to Texas, where I was able to teach yoga and do what I loved, and basically came back with the intention of going into the hot yoga studios and teaching. And that's what I did. But whilst I was there, I began to see after my illness that my body was an amazing tool. So I moved away from how my body looked, began to realize how an amazing vessel my body was, because it began to heal organically in spite of me. And came back, and that was back in 2012, I think it was. And the rest, they say, is history. So I began to become very body positive without even knowing it there, until
Through your own
basically.
experience, really.
Yeah, so it was experience. And then the time when it really, I became really body positive because I read about someone called Deborah Coughlin. And she wrote an article in The Guardian called Fat Girls Do Yoga Too. And I was so distressed about what I read, that when she went to classes, she was ignored by the teachers and stared at by other practitioners. And I thought, that's not what yoga's about.
No.
And then it was like, suddenly, like, what can I do to change this? And I had a coach at the time and said, what can I do? And she said, Donna, just do something about it. And I didn't know what to do. And I thought, I need to create curves from yoga, which I didn't at the time, but I wanted a name that would make it stand out. And I liked curvy. And I thought I Googled everything and found every permutation of curvy that had gone, but I was wrong. But I liked wholesome. And I thought, wholesome sounds like bread. Wholesome yoga sounds like bread. I didn't like it.
And the gluten intolerant people would not be coming, would they, darling?
Exactly.
The celiacs would be out, not inclusive.
Exactly. So I had this inspired idea then, Rachel, to put curve and then some together. And that's when Curve Some Yoga was born. And it made me see at that point who else was missing from the yoga space and how could I go out there and reach them. And that was back in 2015 was when I began to maybe inadvertently niche and didn't even realize that I was becoming body positive and I was doing something that no one else was doing in the UK at the time, and got pushed back from friends because like, you're not curvy, you can't teach the curvy people. And yet now it's very trendy, Rachel. So
actually, that's a point I was going to say. So you and I both are inclusive yoga teachers, and we both have what is probably known as skinny privilege. However, what you can't see are the other parts that make us an ally for all types, because we're both physically able as well. But I don't think that precludes us from being inclusive or aware or an ally or educated. So what was since you brought that up, that's a good one, babes.
Thank you, honey. Yeah, because I hid for a long time, Rachel, for that very reason, because friends were like, you're not curvy, you can't teach the curvy people. And it wasn't until somebody actually said, you don't have to be gay to advocate for gay rights, and that was it.
Exactly.
I was off, and that was it. The rest was history.
That was my example, because you could be an ally for us queers. Do you know what I mean? It's no different at all. Ally's an ally. As long as you're educated and you know what you're on about and stay open to education, all good.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. And some people when we do suffer with something that society potentially outcasts or stops you being involved in, sometimes you shut down your own learning. So I've spoken to different people from different walks of life, and because I specifically learn about things, I can go to them, so I know this about a body that's in this way or with this particular differently abled situation, and they're like, I never knew that. And it's because you shut yourself down because you're in that position of lack of privilege and entitlement. So it's a great thing that you're doing, babes. I'm a fan.
And likewise with you. Thank you.
I'm just going to also touch on the subject that you and I have past lives together very quickly.
We do, and we didn't even know at the time.
We didn't know at the time. It was lovely Leslie, who was our common friend, who told us we both worked for a particular law firm. It was the first law firm I worked for, back in the day.
Yeah.
I think I left in 2009 and you were there till
2011. So our path, and I joined 2001. So our paths would have crossed somewhere in the hallows of that building.
God, we were such high-flying corporate babes, weren't we?
We were. You were on the legal side. I was in the IT side.
Yeah, I was legal, but being terribly illegal at the time. Let me tell you, my
wink, say no more.
My extracurricular activities were below the belt in every way possible.
It's been recorded. Remember, it's been recorded.
I give no flips. I'm okay with it. I'm here for a good time, not a legal time, baby. So you're bringing one of your body positive yoga workshops to Mind Body Spirit Festival on the 24th of May at 4 p.m.
Yes, I am indeed. I'm looking forward to it. I'm so excited.
Great. Would you tell us what we need to bring, what we can expect, what it's called, and and then I'll tell them where they can get their tickets.
Yeah, and basically, I think it's called Yang Yin Slow Flow is the name of it. I hope I haven't got that wrong. And basically, bring yourself, most importantly, and any props that you may feel need. And a yoga mat's being supplied. I can't remember.
I don't actually know. Since
Well,
COVID, I think loads of people aren't supplying mats, but you
yeah,
know,
I'm not
the
sure. I
C
think they did.
word.
I think they
Sorry.
did last year. And they did last year. But what I'd advise you do, anyone listening, go to the website because I'm sure they'll tell you there what you need to bring. So just to be on the safe side. But most importantly, bring it yourselves.
Yeah,
Bring the bodies
great.
because you're all welcome.
Good stuff. I often get asked what I need to bring, and it's like, well, you know, it's like the first time you do anything, especially if you're a bit shy, it's like you're not going to, because you look like a pro if you rock up with all the gear. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes people go, well, I'm not going to turn up like that. They're going to think I can do splits and a handstand. So yeah,
That's true.
understandable.
Actually, I've had people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the gear and no idea is what we call it.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes people don't know what yang and yin is. So do you want to just give a little tickler about?
Yeah. So basically, the yin side is it's most of the posture will be done on the floor, and we'll hold them for slightly longer, anywhere between 3 and 5 minutes. So we hold the postures there, and it gives you time to rest, to let the body relax, and for the muscles and the fascia, the muscles and the fascia to release. And the yang part is where we do like the upward dogs, the downward dogs, and we do the more conventional postures that you see in mainstream classes. But it's slow flow, so you can come and do as little or as much as you want to do. All you want to do is come and lie on the mat in Savasana the entire class. That too is yoga because you're breathing. So you come as you are and do what you want to do. But I'm there to guide you to have the best experience. Excuse me, I got frog in my throat. But I'm there
I
to
did a
guide
sympathy
you.
cough with you.
Yeah. I'm there to guide you to have the best experience possible. You can be a complete beginner or someone who has a regular practice. I will adapt the postures to suit your unique bodies, not for you to contort your body into the postures. And it's all about taking the pause. It's to empower you. And it's not for you to worry about how the postures look. What's more important for me is how the postures make you feel. That for me is the yoga. You feel your body. That's how you cultivate the mind-body connection. So the body can tell you, oh, that's a bit too much for me today, so I can back off. But also to let the yoga and you come together for an amazing experience.
Nice. Nailed it, Donna. It's almost like you're a professional speaker or something, or a coach, or, you know, inspirational. Would you help me dispel the myth that you need to be flexible for yoga? I get this all the time. And I actually started something called the Unbendables, which was a yoga class for particularly beginner males, because they feel, I think, in the first time in their lives that this is the most intimidating space for them. Whereas women go around being intimidated all our lives. But for men, I do, you know, it's obviously very important, because imagine if all the men in the world did yoga.
Yeah.
It would be a very different bloody world, wouldn't it,
It was,
darling?
yeah. Yeah.
So,
When you think yoga started, it was many men that did it. It's what a transition, you know, along the way type thing. You know?
yeah.
But I believe that everyone's a yoga body, as you know, Rachel. And basically, you don't have to come to yoga with anything. Flexibility will come as a byproduct when you get on the mat. And it doesn't matter if you're flexible, because the postures can be adapted for your unique body. And for me, flexibility of the mind is more important than flexibility of the body. You know, it's a journey. You know, we don't call yoga it's perfect. It's a practice. But you come on the mat, and every time you come, your body may change in some small way. So it may be you're bending over to try and touch your toes, and you can't touch your toes. But through that journey, as the body begins to stretch and to lengthen, you may start to find the body begins to relax, that begins to release, and you may find that touching the toe may happen. But it's not about touching the toes. It's what you learn on the way down there is important. The journey, the self-discovery, that's more important, basically. But you come as you are. There's props, as I say, and I repeat myself, the postures can be adapted. So you don't have to worry about not being able to touch your toes. You know, there's ways in which we'll show you to work the body in a way that allows that journey to begin.
Nice one. Going on from that, how would you say that you connect to your inner wisdom or your inner guru or your, you know, we can call it many things, but how do you sort of describe that in terms of a yoga practice? Because people always think, oh, it's just a physical practice, and of course we've got spiritual and psychological. But how would you answer that?
The way in which I try to teach that or explain that is I try to allow my practitioners to experience the practice from the inside out. So they began to connect to their innate wisdom. So they're not distracted by the external stimulation, the external distraction. And that's where then they can begin to feel the sensation of the body, experience the breath and experience what's actually going on the inside out type thing. And even thoughts, because sometimes we have, I like the word that describes things as well, Rach, is that we have the mind, and the mind is always there, but it's like the sky. And then what happens? Thoughts come along, and they're like light, fluffy clouds sometimes. And when they're fluffy and light, Rachel, we don't get behind them because we're happy and we're just getting on with our life. But occasionally, there's dark, moody clouds that come along, and those are the ones that hang around for a lot longer. And
that's not occasional in my experience, mate. I have lightning, thunderbolts, storms. You know what I mean? That's my mind. But
I'll talk to you after the session. I'll try and help you later. And the lightning, but that's true too. And that does happen. But then what happens then? Thoughts storms arise. But when we connect to the body, Rachel, we begin to understand that we're okay as we are, and that those thoughts are temporary if we allow them to float away, just like the clouds. And sometimes those positions that can change in a moment. A yoga posture that you like can take you out of that moment, and then you can really experience it, Rachel. You feel something inside of you that maybe a happiness, and you're no longer concerned about how the postures look, but it's the way you feel. And sometimes when it happens, Rachel, I call it yoga stoned.
Oh my God, it is yoga stoned.
Yeah. Or the yoga high. So you get that, you're just taken away, and you come out, and that's when you really connect the energy. And
off your tits on prana, babes.
I know, but the one class where I always see that the most, Rachel, and I can't replicate anyway, it's when you're in a Bikram class, and you've got about 30, 40 people together, and they're all moving around, they're fidgeting, and you can see that they're distracted, they're not present. And then suddenly, Rachel, you get them together and they move as one, and you can feel that energy. And even they get it. They come and say, Donna, I'm really sorry that we're really hard work, but I get what you're trying to do. So when they get that strength that they always had, and they tap into that, that's the power of yoga. Yeah. That's when you're just not getting your leg behind your head and you come out and you feel, ooh, and because I've had people come to me and say, people really rave about yoga, but I don't experience some of the feelings or the emotions because they're not being taught to connect the mind and the body. That is not being explained to them within the practice. It's just purely asana, because yoga, the asana is the picture boy or picture girl of yoga, and it's like a house, Rachel. But it's just, that's the front door, and people are getting stopped at front door. They're not experiencing the other 8 links or aspects of yoga. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I'm always like, that's 1/8 of yoga. Yeah. So when people say they can't do yoga, I'm like, are you telling me you can't do 7/8 of a whole?
Exactly.
Pretty sure you can, mate.
Exactly. And even that, Rachel, but even in the class, I can bring in things like non-harming, so they don't harm themselves, because they're trying to push maybe really hard, because they brought that hustle mentality onto the yoga mat. So it's letting them know that it's okay to rest, it's okay to pause, and that's when they can start to really feel what's going on with their body.
Yeah. And I find that when people practice in a group, that, like you touched on there, they draw on each other, and without realizing it, you all sync up, which is why I actually like going to classes. I prefer that. I've got a host of neurodiverse needs, and because of my ADHD and all my other bits, when I'm in a group, it just kind of calms me and focuses me. And everyone's different. Some people prefer to practice on their own, but I always say, hand yourself over to someone who's qualified and grounded in themselves, because then your nervous system copies theirs, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And also when you're there as well, because what I also say in the class, Rachel, is that you can connect to whoever or whatever you want to connect to, because it's all about, clearing off all the illusions, so you really connect with yourself. And the way I like to describe it as well sometimes, Rachel, is that, again, going back to the mind, because the mind's an amazing tool, but the mind can be so distorted sometimes. But the mind is like it's full. It's got a band in there. Is another way I like to describe it. It's got a band in there, and you can always hear the drums. And the drums is that external noise. But every once in a while, you'll hear a violin or you hear a piccolo, and that's your innate wisdom coming through. And that happens to me sometimes, Rachel, when I'm really in the moment, I'm teaching, and something profound comes out of my mouth. Where'd that come from? It's really, who said that?
Believe it or not, Donna, you're a really intelligent woman.
Thank you.
It's from you.
But sometimes, Rachel, it's really profound, even for me. It's like, and it wasn't even thought of, I didn't even construct the sentence. It just came from deep within. And that's when you connect with your innate power, whatever you believe with, that's the connection. And yoga, for me, is what can stimulate that.
Yeah, bring you into it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So some people also are put off by yoga because they might think, well, I'm not spiritual, or it's not fun.
Yeah.
So I guess I'd like you to talk about how classes are led by you from that perspective, and whether or not you have any fun, Donna. I mean, you seem like
How dare you ask that question? Of course I'm fun.
I'm so glad you interrupted that utter shit that was coming out of my mouth.
Touche. Yeah, my classes, Rachel, are fun. Life is serious enough. I'm serious now, but I'm joking. But life is serious enough. So basically, anyone that comes to my class, and my students will tell you, we have fun. I have so many Donna-isms. I believe that fun allows individuals to relax, because people come into classes, Rachel, they're so serious. They're flat the postures and they're serious. They don't even breathe sometimes because they're holding the breath and they're becoming stiff. So I will even say, smile to relax them. And I believe fun does so too as well. And that enables people to be just who they want to be, because students sometimes want permission. They look up to the teacher and they try to please you. But I try to model having fun in my class, model falling out the postures, making mistakes, because I'm human and so are they. And if you do that, then they would do that as well. So, and I always say, and I'm not laughing at, and I laugh with the students. I actually say, I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing with you. And they can be fits of giggles. I mix up, and my regulars know that, and they tell me the left or the right, and I don't get hung up about it type thing. But it's a relaxed class. We can come, as I said, do as little or as much you want. Wear whatever you want. I've had people coming to my classes before wearing jeans and doing, there's no hierarchy in my class. There's no airs and graces. Come as you are, because yoga, I believe, is something that you learn on the mat, maybe, some of the asanas, but you learn skills also that you can take into your everyday life. So to have fun, not to be so serious, to slow down, move away from what you do, and not to be in the future, because a lot of people come and they're not in my class, and there's a sequence I do, and it invariably lets me see if they're in the future. And it's like left leg, right leg, and whatever. And I then do same arm, same leg. And then I bring the class back. And I say, oh, you're in the future, in the 10 o'clock class, when it's the 8 o'clock class. And that normally, brings a smile, and so everyone knows what kind of class they're in. It's going to be a class where they can relax, breathe, and have fun as well. That it's not serious. So if they want to laugh and giggle, as long as they're not too disruptive, then they'll fine. So they'll come and just enjoy the experience.
Because your class at Mind Body Spirit as well is set within the setting of Mind Body Spirit, which is a lot of fun as well.
Exactly.
I don't think people expect it to be as fun as it is, but the different, it's an eclectic group of people that are leading workshops and spaces, and everyone there is just so human, down to earth, really cool, super fun. And how are they going to feel when they come out of your class, babes?
They're going to flow out. They're going to be yoga stone. They're going to be yoga stone, seriously.
Yoga stoned and enlightened, clearly.
And relax and chill, because, my classes reflect my personality as well, and that's what I'm authentic. So if I'm not being authentic, then you won't have fun in the class. So that comes through as well. So you'll be able to relax, and you'll come out feeling so high that you want to come back for more. It's a natural high.
Mind Body Spirit is not a drug dealing space. This is all based on our.
Yeah, it's a natural high. So you create, you get the endorphins, and you'll come out feeling chilled and relaxed, and that's the feedback that comes from my classes, Rachel. That people come or they come out and they some people say, sometimes I laugh, they say, I feel solid, depending on the kind of, you know, they feel really grounded, or they feel tired because they've been able to relax so much, or some even fall asleep. Not mean I'm boring, but they fall asleep because they've relaxed so much.
You're not boring, I will confirm. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, people, when they say they're tired afterwards, I'm like, that's because you've allowed yourself to relax, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they invariably enjoy Sebastian. I don't think anyone rushes out of my class, you know, Sebastian, they stay there. And what I love seeing as well, Rachel, is that when they really truly connect their mind and body, the stillness they cultivate, which shows that they're at peace in their body, and they're absorbing and receiving the benefits of their practice.
Yeah. And that's the power they have to do that for themselves. It's amazing.
Exactly.
That realization for them.
Yeah, and they can take that away with them, because, you know, we're giving them skills, Rachel, off the mat to take in their everyday life, how to breathe, like to notice if they're becoming stressed, so they can calm those things down. And that's the beauty of yoga. Yoga, you know, is for everybody, for everyone, and it's popular because it works, and it will continue to be long after we're gone. It's going to be around. It's been around for thousands of years already, and for thousands of more. So please do come. It will be an experience for you, and I can't wait to. I'm ending here. I don't know if you're ending the job.
No, we're not ending, but we can. But I'm coming to the workshop, Donna. Don't worry. I mean, you've won me over. I'll be there. I'll be on the main stage in the day. Then I'm coming to you for a little flexi bend and a giggle.
Definitely, and it'd be fun, you know. And then what I do in my class as well, Rachel, I teach to the room, so I don't. I do have like maybe a set of a sequence in my head, but I will throw that away and teach to who's there as well. And then what I do as well, which my students love, I explain why you're doing something. I'm not a dictatorial, you know, do this, arms up. I explain why you're doing it. And if I need to, I will actually stop the class and sometimes give a little mini workshops, so that individuals that leave the class, they can advocate for themselves in other classes, and they know hit this part or whatever it is they need to know for their body. But giving them permission to know that they'll also experience the postures in different ways, because we're all different, Rachel. So I may feel a sensation in my thigh, but you may not. And that's fine too, because we're all different. Our bodies are unique.
Yeah, and they're different every day as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you come into class one day, your tree's solid, and the next day you come in, you're swaying like a tree in nature.
I've had mind storms, okay, Donna? Don't judge me. I'm a wibbly wobbly tree in the wind today, babes. Look at my branches. Oh dear. Exactly. What you said to me that, well, you've already got one book out, haven't you? And you said you're in the process of a second book. You're clever. You're clever, lass.
Indeed. Yes, I am. Yes, I've started the research of it, so now I want to start next week actually getting down to start writing it, because I've given the publishers a deadline. They give me a deadline which is a bit longer than I wanted, but I think they were right now. So I want to get it out to them sort of September of this year. And then maybe if I do achieve that, then hopefully then I'm thinking publication date sometime next year, because yoga still leaves a lot to decide. People still aren't coming to yoga for various reasons, you know, and we still need to make it more inclusive, more accessible and diverse. So my next book is addressing that in a further way, basically.
Amazing. And what was your first book called, and where can people find that?
Okay, my first book was called Teaching Body Positive Yoga, and you can get it wherever you buy your books, at Amazon, or, you know, you can get it anywhere if you don't like Amazon. You know, Waterstones, go on the interweb or internet, and you can find it there. Google it, find it there. And I think if you come to my website or page or whatever, you can see the link to where you can purchase it there as well. But it's had good reviews as well. I'm surprised by that.
What? Stop being so surprised by your own awesomeness, you Wally. I've got some PG-13 disses to show you, your Wally pops. So, because it's teaching yoga, body positive yoga, would you say it's just for teachers, or would a practitioner wanting to learn more about their practice be able to read that too?
Yeah, no, it's not only for teachers actually, because people that have bought the book that haven't been practitioners or just practitioners and not teachers have said they found so much value from it because it covers the wide range of things, how to actually adapt the postures. So that's shown in there as well, but the importance of language. And some people said they found it very inspirational. They have it on their bedside and they read it because I share my story in there as well, and they found that inspirational. So better than any mantra type book. So that's why I said I'm really happy but surprised by where people have found it useful. People say they use it all the time, they go back to it, they refer to it, and they recommend it all the time. So it's a book that didn't know what it's going to be like, Rachel, but it's out in the world, and it's something I'm proud of.
Yes, well, I'm proud of you too. It's brilliant.
Thank
I was going to ask you two more things, and this can be cut out. Oh, big hairy balls.
I want to be interviewed by you again. I'm loving this.
Oh, good. It's just like having a chat with a mate, isn't it?
I know it is.
It's nice. That's the whole idea. Actually, I'm going to go on to that because yoga teachers and teachers of any so-called perceived spiritual practices are often put on a pedestal, which leads to a lot of abuse of power. You've mentioned Bikram, which is one of my favourite examples to use as being, particularly males.
Yes.
And how do you think, because I think you're doing this brilliantly, is dispelling that pedestal culture, and also being an inspiration to Black women to teach as well, because let's face it, yoga became it was steeped in Indian culture and tradition, and then all I saw, and I am one of these, is a skinny white woman teaching who can do splits, and that wasn't from yoga, that's from my dancing and kung fu.
From
So
gymnastics,
I'm one of them.
and that's the thing, and that's why, Rachel, it's good to unlearn to relearn, because even I had to unlearn, because when I started out, I'm a Black yoga teacher, but I was very lucky that when I first started out, my journey was more diverse than it was now, actually, because my first yoga teacher was South Asian, second teacher was mixed heritage, and there were two Black yoga teachers I think it was one of the first Ashtanga yoga studios in Southwest London. So I was in an environment where I wasn't the only person of colour. So for me, it wasn't strange. But when I started to go to mainstream, that's when the change happened. Then I was the only person of colour, and then began to see this yoga image of yoga teachers. And then basically, when I went to America, and I think America's ahead in terms of yoga, it's been more mature. I began to see people were missing when I came to London, and it wasn't something I set out to do, but it just felt that I need to call out individuals to do so. And the moment for me when I realised, Rachel, that it was important for me as a Black teacher to be more visible, when I went to Ali Pali with Yoga Show, and I think it's one of the International Yoga Day events, and I went, and the British weather, it was like rainy, Rachel. I was being interviewed, I think, by Yoga Matters. I had to go there early, have the interview, and then wait. And mine was one of the last classes outside, and I said, if I was me, I'd be going home after this, because it's really crap. But when to my surprise, and I share that picture a lot, Rachel, so many people turned out for me, and they were people of colour.
Wow.
And they said to me at the end, Donna, you need to be visible because we come out to support you. And then I began to then realise the importance of the voice I was starting to have, and me being visible. If it meant one practitioner came or a teacher who was Black went to TT, I need to be more visible. And then from there, I just, me, Rachel, I just do. There's no airs and grace. I just do. If I see something that needs doing, I do it. Like when I co-created the first UK Black Fitness Festival, I did that as well.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. So I did that. And there's something more I need to do now, but I don't know what it is, but I just know there's a calling. And that's why I'm passionate about doing this. And in terms of power, whatever, I've got a voice, Rachel, but I'm still Donna underneath it. And even like friends say, oh my God, Donna, you're this and that. And people say things to me, and it's like, it's a gift. I love to share it, and I don't think I'll ever get to the status, Rachel, where I'll have that power and have people around me with that power, like the Bikrams or whatever. That's not my goal, and I'm glad there's other people out there, and there's other doing the same thing, like yourself and Jivana Haymond and others like that. that we can all come together. And I think my family would keep me so grounded if I started to get up myself. People would, what's going on with you, Donna? I even get that now, and but not in a horrible way. But you know, people would come after you anyway. But and that's not me in terms, because I like to be of service. I love to be of service, and I have a gift, and like we all do as teachers. And I want as many people as possible to experience it, because right now there's so much dis-ease, mental health issues. The NHS can't cope. And yoga is a way that can start to alleviate some of those things that we're seeing. Because yoga, mind-body connection, you know, it got me out of corporate, because I was able to connect to my mind to see what I didn't want to do anymore. Even around people now, my intuition kicks in. It's like, whoa, I'm around Rachel, what's going on here? So I can question that. And then, you know,
most people do question themselves when they're around me, babes. Yeah, question away, babes. What the frig am I doing here?
but seriously, but it allows me to create boundaries. And because of what I'm doing as well, Rachel, I don't have to run around London anymore like I used to. You know, that rite of passage, you know, the 6:30 a.m. class in the morning. And because I'm being authentic and doing what I'm doing, the universe or whatever is availing me to so many opportunities. Like the book, I didn't plan to write the book, but there it is, book number 2. If you said to me I'd be writing the first book, much of the second book, I would have said whatever. But because of that, Rachel, I'm more empowered, and I can do more that resonates with me. And I think because I do that, I can then help others as well, which is what I'm passionate about doing. So, you know, you know, power, Rachel, to me, it's, I don't know, it's like, you know, I'm not a person that wants to be like number one or whatever in the world, or I don't know. I just hear I want to help individuals because the world needs it, and it needs more people like us. So that's what I do. But those that do it, I don't know what their motivations are, but I don't think I've got a cell in my bone that is like what they have. I'm glad to say that.
No, you're a very, very, very human person, which is one of the most attractive things about finding teachers like you. You know, literally that resonance and attraction is like, you know, that's why people are attracted to you, I think, is obviously you've got a brilliant mind, but you're not a wanker. And you know, take that as you will, babes. There's plenty of yoga wankers. I can say that. I've been in the yoga world since 2009. So that's quite a while I've been teaching, and I was put off, and I'm the quintessential example of what someone should look like and be like. But because I'm a bit batty in the mind, you know, it's a bit crazy.
And that's subjective, because I always say, just because we think in a logical whatever way, who's to say we're not the insane ones? You know, it's who decided that? You know, someone.
Amen, sister. Yeah.
And I say that all the time. Who's to say that, you know, we're not the ones? Because there's more of us, maybe. Who's to say that we're not the ones that are out there and looping by being in boxes and not exploring things? And I'm starting to do that more, Rachel, you know? So again, because, you know, go beyond my comfort zone and open myself up to more. So some of us, we're very rigid and stuck in our ways. And for me, that can sometimes, you know, not lead to an exciting life.
That is one way of putting it. Yeah, exactly. Oh dear. Well, I'm just going to differentiate the difference between yoga and other physical practices at Mind Body Spirit, and how potentially yoga can be a more spiritual practice. Doesn't have to be that. We'll talk about that. Like we both align on this, don't we, darling? But yeah, so how would you say that it is a spiritual practice through physical movement, and also how it's inclusive if one happens to be an atheist, for example?
Yeah, so it could be a spiritual practice, Rachel, because you can then bring in whatever you believe to the yoga mat. So you can dedicate your practice to the universe, to God, and bring in those rituals and the philosophy of the yoga practice, because there's 8 leaves to yoga. But what I try to do to make my practice includes anyone can come to my practice. I don't chant, and I don't say anyone has to worship a particular deity or have a particular practice. Everyone's able to come and experience the yoga in a way that resonates with them, because I can understand that it will put certain individuals off, because you've got the issue of some people conflating yoga with religion, and
exactly,
a lot of people aren't coming to yoga because of that. And that's another issue that I have recently. I tried to find out about hiring a hall, and they wouldn't let me do so because they said it was religious. So that's why I very much stay away from that. But there is a style of yoga for everyone out there. But I do acknowledge, that there's more to yoga than the asanas, and you'll get that. For me, it's bringing you into yourself to connect with who or whatever you believe, and that's how the spiritual side of it is. And the practices that the 8 links of yoga introduce as well, I believe in those as well, and bring them into my life, my practice. But it's not rammed down somebody's throat that they're going to feel comfortable. Because I've got relatives that they won't go into yoga as well because they're afraid of what's going to be said.
Yeah, well, of course. It can be belittling, makes you feel like an imposter, an outsider, and also like if you're not culturally entrenched in it, you feel like, it's like going to church if you're not a Christian for some people.
Exactly. And people won't do that. But the good thing with yoga, then there's something for everyone, because you've also got the Egyptian yoga, the Kemetic yoga, which is now being spoke about a lot more. Exactly. It doesn't only just come from India, even though there's different
African.
It's African, Egyptian. But for me, it doesn't matter where it came from, originated, as long as it gets someone to experience it in a way that resonates with them. That's the most important thing. No one needs to claim it. Yoga's for everybody. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's our favorite. Yoga is for everybody. I love that. And I think we'll just say again, thank you so much, Donna, for coming and having a chat with me, and for putting up with this rainbow unicorn for the morning.
I love it. I'm used to it now, Rachel. I'm used to it. If I don't see it, then what the hell's going on with you? What the hell's going on in your life, my dear?
She got boring. Rach got boring.
Yeah. She came to the other side.
Went back into my corporate life.
Yeah. I want to see some pictures of you in your corporate life. Anyway, but yeah.
I'll send them to you later.
Yeah, send me later. Yeah. but I hope the interview was okay, and I hope I answered your questions sufficiently.
You answered them beautifully, mate. And I'm just going to send everyone to Mind Body Spirit Festival website. So it's mindbodyspiritfestival.co.uk. Thank you, Donna Noble. You're an absolute beauty, and I love you.
Ditto. I love you too, and thank you for having me, as always.
Thanks, mate. Have a great day.
You too. Take care.
Bye, my darling.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Mind Body Spirit Festival podcast. We would love to connect with you in real person at one of our epic events. Go to mindbodyspiritfestival.co.uk for tickets and information. I will see you there. Don't forget, you can also follow us on Instagram, MBS Wellbeing, for behind-the-scenes content, updates, and offers. Stay cosmic, you beautiful soul.